Howdy, I'm back again, Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher. And go back and watch part 1 if you haven't seen it. And this is all about the restoration and rebuilding of this Mead 1x42" bandsander. Now, in the previous video, I just bloviated and talked about its characteristics, its good points, its bad points, and what I need to do to it. So today I'm actually going to get started on the restoration. Stand by. You know, once Delta Rockwell was a proud and wonderful company, and this is the 1958 catalog when everything was made of cast iron and was quality, but probably not affordable. It even says industrial. So people didn't own these, factories owned them, but then something happened not only to Delta but the entire tool industry, and they came up with this kind of junk. And I'm going to call it junk, and I hope they're real proud of making a piece of junk like this. But this is what you're going to find now as far as band sanders, and they've reduced the length from 42" to 30" belt. So that allowed them to make the entire thing cheaper and smaller, more compact and affordable, but you know, it's absolute junk, and it's motorized. They didn't use a separate motor. Now, it isn't just Delta, but everybody made one of these, everybody and his brother, and I'm sure you can find one at Horror Freight if you go there today. I fully understand that this has nothing to do with the Mead sander, but I like to get sidetracked. This is entertainment. This is strictly entertainment. No one in the Northern Hemisphere is going to restore a Mead band sander. So let me talk about this Delta. At first I thought this was plastic, but no. They did go a little bit better quality. It is die-cast aluminum, the gray part. The black part here, of course, is plastic. And, you know, I bought this for 10 bucks at a garage sale or someplace. I thought I'd sharpen knives with it. I never have used it even once, but look at the crack here. So it's just, you know, almost mockable quality. It does have nice little rubber feet on it, though. And many people gave me suggestions on how to come up with rubber feet, so thank you for that, although it's too late for that other project. Yeah, look at that crack. Now don't even think about using one of these without ear protection, because they absolutely scream. Look at the wobble there. So this isn't even any good at all. I mean, if I was to put this out at one of my garage sales, I'd have to sell it for $5. But all companies at some point, and this is an aluminum table, that's not too bad, but they didn't machine them, or if they did, it was done on an abrasive machine, and the purpose of the slots was not only to save material in manufacturing, but less material to remove if they're trying to true it up. And the whole thing weighs, shoot, what, 10 or 12 pounds. And there's just one screw here that holds on this plastic cover. And you can see it's not tracking right here. Let's turn it on again. I gotta cover my ears. I wish I could measure the decibels. It's gotta be 95. It absolutely screams. And the mechanism for tracking it is right here, and that doesn't look too bad. Well, that's really all I'm going to say about this, but that just shows you that how much greater quality there is in the Mead and the bell saw and that older Delta. But avoid buying one of these new or used, because you're going to hate it. It's just that simple. I cannot believe how loud that is. I don't think that you can tell in the video just how loud this thing is. All right, enough of the rant, but you know, you can tell from the tone of my voice I'm actually mildly angry about this thing. Oh, Mr. Delta would be so disappointed. I'm sure he's rolling over in his grave. If there is a Mr. Delta, or was. One last little rant here, I just can't help it. I brought this from the cold garage. Now it's starting to warm up, but initially these cheap cords that are PVC or whatever, not rubber, are just so terribly, horribly unruly in the cold weather, and they're not much better when they warm up. Now there'd be a lot of disappointed fathers and husbands when they get one of these for Father's Day or Christmas, and it's just a turn off because it can make a person dislike working in his shop rather than enjoying it. So that's another sadness of this kind of quality. I'm backstepping into the other video here to talk a little bit about that failed motor, and I just picked this up because I like to save these shim washers, because where are you going to get those? But the end play, I don't think I showed that clip. It was a clip where I threw it away, but there was a lot of end play in the entire rotor armature here, and that causes at some point the centrifugal switch to be inoperable. That can be corrected by adding shim washers on the correct end, but of course it's way too late now. So I will save those, but as I pulled these off, I thought, well, I'm going to examine that. This is the surface that was in a bearing, but you can see that there was grit in there. Again, it's self-destructed. Look at the damage to that surface, and of course the bearing would be just as bad. This end, not so bad, but it does have wear on it. Do you find that interesting when I do an autopsy? You can see they've had that belt pulley off many times. Let's get started now. The first thing that I'm doing here is to identifying this bearing. I might have done this in the other video. You know, I'm getting old and senile, and I know I repeat myself, but that is a Nice 1614 2S bearing with a 3/8 ID. So I've got two of those on order, so it'll be a few days, so I will get back to this, although I think I'll take this axle off now. Maybe even remove those bearings today, but I need to identify the bearings in the lower shaft. I loosened this set screw in this lower wheel. Came right off, almost. Now this shaft does not come out. That's just a little panel for access, or to keep the dust out of there, or whatever, dust cover. Oh, there's a Allen key in there. And it fits. Okay, you see this will not come out. So I got to take this cover plate out, and it looks like the bearings inside there, I'll get them out in a second, maybe are not serviceable. They look like they're in almost a cartridge where you have to buy the assembly, but I hope, and these bearings aren't that bad. I'm going to change them if it's easy to do, otherwise I'm going to just live with them. You see, there's the bearing. It's kind of a unit. Okay, just as I thought, this bearing is not serviceable. It's all one piece. It would be, well, probably darn near impossible to get that apart. And there's a number on the end of the shaft right here, and it's new departure 885155. So I went up onto the computer and looked that up, and I really couldn't find it, or at least there was none for sale on eBay. But then looking, doing a Google search, it appears that this is a water pump bearing. And for $31 I think I could get it, and it appears to be a Jeep part. But I'm evaluating this at 95%. I can feel just a little bit of roughness, but it made very little noise, so I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to reuse it because it doesn't look like it's greasable, and if it's a water pump type of bearing, it's sealed and pre-lubricated, of course, but to keep the water out, so that means it also kept the dust out. Now, looking at the Bell Saw Company, it looks like they used the same type of bearing, only with a slightly longer shaft. So they didn't make their own bearings, they were just buying them. Looks like there were some little dust covers on that too, and I don't see those on this machine. So I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm sure I'll be criticized greatly for that, but so be it. Some of you are going to be proud of me now that I'm starting to paint things, but I'll swear the Mead that I had at the high school was a green, more or less this color, and I've had this in stock hammered green, but it didn't work out very well in that Lyle drill grinder. I wasn't getting any of the effect, so I'm not going to use that. So I just went down to Ace Hardware and wasted $4 and 45 minutes out of my life buying this, and I just now opened that. And then when I went over to look for this, I found I already had a can of it in stock. Satin enamel, March 27th. So I'll use the old one. Cap this back up. So I'm going to paint this piece at a time as I take it apart. And this has already been wire brushed and cleaned with lacquer thinner. I'm not going to bother with the inside. Years ago I would have done that too, but I'm just going to do what shows. Heard that hit the wall. I'll never find that. Disassembly complete. I told you these machines do tend to self-destruct. At least it's not through on this side yet. Well, there it is, completely disassembled. And I'm not going to show all of the cleanup and painting, because who needs to see that, but there's the sample that I painted. Satin black. That looks pretty good. So I'll proceed to wire brush that. I'm not doing a real fancy job, and painting it off camera. I'm going to mask off that original decal there because I'm sentimental about it. Clean up this base real well, and then I have several parts to make or remanufacture and bearings to put in. That'll all be in upcoming videos, but that concludes this part 2 of my restoration on the Mead bandsander. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Tubalcain saying so long for now.